Hi, I'm Alan Hills, and welcome to the College of St. Rose's movie review and discussion podcast series, Cutting to the Chase, brought to you by the Campus Radio Club, Radio St. Rose. So for this podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about the movie Green Book, since it just won Best Picture a few days ago at the 91st Academy Awards. I finally watched the movie last night. I didn't see it when it came out, but when it won Best Picture, I finally decided to watch it, and I have to say, I really am impressed. I thought it had great acting, terrific dialogue, authentic set pieces, and authentic music that went very well with the authentic set pieces, and I think the story was overall inspirational and very nice. And for this episode, I will actually be interviewing a very special guest over the movie. He is a communication student here at St. Rose with a concentration in journalism, but aside from that, he is a very successful film critic. He's been so since he was 10 years old. He's incredibly popular and successful, and he is the man behind Lights, Camera, Jackson. That's right, folks. He is Jackson Murphy. Jackson, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. It's so great to have you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, Alan. Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. I think it really is long overdue. We both have the same film critiquing interests. It's really great. So, you saw Green Book when it came out, right? I didn't see it at first when it came out, but you see a lot of films like a little bit before they come out, so you saw it when it came out, right?
I saw it at the end of October, a few weeks before it came out, at festival called the Film Columbia Festival, which is in Chatham, New York. It happens every October, and each year they get a lot of the big award season movies. This was actually their Saturday night sneak. So what they do is they put out the lineup a few weeks in advance, and they call this the Saturday night sneak. People buy tickets for it. They have no idea what the movie is until the curtain opens. And their choice this year was Green Book. So people didn't really know going in that they were going to see Green Book, but I have to say they loved it. This was the feel-good, crowd-pleasing movie of the festival and maybe the entire award season.
That sounds like it was very fun. I didn't know they do that. They don't tell people what the movie's going to be. They just open the curtains and there it is.
And there it is. It is really cool. And it's the first one that sells out every year, I'm told, by their director, Calliope Nicholas.
That's really awesome. I'll have to check it out and try to go to that. So what was your initial reaction to Green Book?
I liked Green Book. I thought it was a little too humorous and funny in places, but I sort of expected that because it's Peter Farrelly, who did the Dumb and Dumber movies and some goofy films in the 90s and the 2000s. It is a little more dramatic than those movies. I still thought the humor was a little too prominent in some places, but the thing I got coming out of it was Mahershala Ali, a powerhouse performance. I liked him in Moonlight. I loved him in this. He is sensational. Viggo Mortensen, I thought, well, is this really a stock character early on? Is he really overdoing it? And then you gradually start to like his character more and more over the course of the movie. I knew walking out of it was going to be the feel-good film of the holidays, and I knew Mahershala Ali was going to win supporting actor. Didn't think it was going to be Best Picture, but I knew Ali was pretty much a done deal.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali is one of the best new talents that we have right now. And as far as the humor goes, I do agree with you there. I was surprised at how humorous it was, but sometimes when you have a dramatic movie like that, sometimes the humor helps a little bit. And I thought their chemistry was really nice. And I think Viggo Mortensen's acting has improved a lot. Because I'm about to say something right now that might surprise a lot of people. I was never a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings series. I like J.R.R. Tolkien's stories, but the movies, I thought they dragged a little too much to the point where they got uninteresting. And I really thought Viggo Mortensen's acting could have been a little better, but I loved him in this movie. I mean, he did a really convincing Italian-American, and I thought he was really funny because he throws the chicken bones out the window. You know, he doesn't care what he does, and that was really perfect.
Yeah, he's better in this than he was in Captain Fantastic, which came out 2 years ago. He was up for Best Actor for that, a film that came out in the summertime that year that almost nobody saw, and I thought at the end of the year, looking back at the lead actors, why is he in this equation? He was all right, but why is he in this category? He deserved to be in this category this time.
He definitely did. I wish he won, but even though Rami Malek deserved that Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody.
He was amazing in Bohemian. Incredible performance.
Yeah, it was a really competitive Oscars this year. And so you usually grade movies like a report card, right? I saw you say that in a video with Jay Leno. This was really when you were a kid.
Yeah. I've been doing that for a long time, grading movies on an A to F scale, yeah.
What grade did you give Green Book and why?
I gave it a B+. If I had to give it like a 1 to 10 score, would probably be around an 8.5 to a 9-ish. A B+ is like a 9 out of 10. It's somewhere in that park. It's not an amazing emotional experience, but it's a very satisfying experience with two great performances and some elements in the story that go in places you don't quite expect. And it does feel a lot different than many of the other movies that were out around that time. I think the reason why it won Best Picture of the Year is because it is the most feel-good film out of all the 8 nominees. That's why the Academy chose it. But yes, I like it a lot. Not quite as emotionally powerful as it could have been, but a very satisfying movie, a comfortable movie with some good supporting work. Linda Cardellini and Sebastian Maniscalco, one of the most popular comedians right now. My mother is obsessed with him, and I like him too because his humor is relatable. It's that kind of relatable humor that Jerry Seinfeld brings as well.
Yeah.
Because of all of that, it deserves a B+.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with the B+ grade because the movie is a mixed bag in a sense. It might not be perfect, but still what it offers is a nice variety, and I very much agree with your grade there. And so I know we've talked about this a little bit already, Viggo Mortensen, Mahershala Ali, but what do you think of the acting in Green Book? Do you have any more opinions on that?
Yeah, you just see Mahershala every single scene, like from the opening scene. That's how I felt about Rami Malek too in Bohemian Rhapsody. From the first scene that he's in, you know he's in control. He is really in control. Viggo, it's a gradual climb. You think to yourself, all right, Peter Farrelly's going down this comedy shtick path. I didn't really want to see it with this movie. He's given it with Viggo. But you see that through the performances and through the script that is offered too. Nick Vallelonga, the son of the real Tony Lip. That script has a lot of heart and warmth to it and honesty to it, and you feed that off of those performances from Viggo and Mahershala.
Yeah, some amazing performances. Mahershala Ali did deserve that Oscar. I liked their chemistry a lot. It was really nice. And even though it was hostile at times, it gradually got better. And the graphic at the end says that the real-life guys died within 2 months of each other in 2013.
Which is amazing. This story has continued for as long as it did. This relationship continued for as long as it did. You like to see those kind of things at the end in the credits, what has happened to the people since. And when I was at that festival, as it's been in many cases with screenings, the usually older audience that is surrounding me at the screening appreciates seeing those kinds of things.
Yeah, a couple similar experiences like that I remember where you find out what happened to some of the characters. Like in that movie Operation Finale, you find out that Oscar Isaac's character, Peter Malkin, died in 2005, I think it was, died pretty recently. And 10 years ago, the movie Valkyrie, Tom Cruise plays Colonel von Stauffenberg. He got killed by the Nazis. He got executed when he found out he was trying to kill Hitler, but you find out that his wife actually survived the war and died in 2006. You know, I love it when movies update you on how some characters lasted and made it through some tough situations. It is an inspiring thing to do in movies. I don't think too many movies do enough of that, but I definitely think they should do that whenever they can.
Yeah, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Another example. They talk about Lee Israel, played by Melissa McCarthy, how she died fairly recently, I believe. Jack Hawk, played by Richard E. Grant, who was probably the second choice for supporting actor this year. I believe he died on the day the movie was released, not 2018, but that same day of October the 19th, he passed away, and the movie opened this year on October the 19th.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's just as weird as Vincent Price dying on Halloween. I know, too weird, right? But so, this is kind of redundant what we've been talking about, but would you say the two leads have effective chemistry?
Yes. And this is a two-person movie. This is essentially a two-person movie. You have Linda Cardellini, who's in it for a few scenes. You have Sebastian Maniscalco, who's not in it a whole lot. You have the rest of the family members. But it's essentially these two people going to all these different locations. You have to have two compelling leads in order to stay with the movie. Otherwise, it's going to lose you very, very quickly. Yeah. So you have to have two reliable people, and that's what they give you.
Yeah, it is what they give the audience, and it's pretty great. And so Peter Farrelly directed this movie, and he's done a lot of different things in the past. So what are your thoughts on the film's direction?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he didn't get nominated for Best Director because it's not a director's kind of movie. As opposed to Bradley Cooper, who should have been nominated for Best Director for A Star is Born. That is a director's movie. I watched A Star is Born, and I go, I can tell that this guy loves movies, the art of movies, and there was so much going on with the camera and with the overall vision. This movie, Peter Farrelly accomplishes a task of going in directions in his career that he's never really gone before. He lets his two leads shine. He gives the audience a feel-good story that has some decent social commentary to it. It is not a director's movie, though. It's a lot of scenes of them in the car, them standing in places, not a whole lot of movement. I like to see directing that has some movement to it. So I'm not surprised. Good direction, but I'm not surprised that he wasn't nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why wasn't Bradley Cooper nominated? A Star is Born, I saw that too recently. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I really think Live Nation Productions helped Bradley Cooper make his vision reality. And that's something I would understand because I am a Live Nation employee. I've worked at concerts and I felt like I was at one of them. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper should have gotten that nomination. But I agree with you that Green Book, it's not a director's movie.
Correct. Yeah, it's not. Whereas A Star is, I mean, the only thing I could say to the Bradley Cooper situation is people already knew he was going to get up for Best Actor. And because it's his first movie, maybe people thought it's not his time yet. But yet,
Maybe.
look at the powerhouse that he created anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that at least Shallow won Best Original Song. It's
Correct.
a great song.
It is. But
really is.
if he had written a line in that, he would have gotten an Academy Award. But he didn't write a single line in Shallow, so he doesn't get an Oscar. He's probably kicking himself right now.
I know it's got to be really frustrating
Yeah.
for all of them, but I think A Star Is Born deserved enough recognition, and but yeah, Green Book is it's not a director's film. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Peter Farrelly's just a basic director. What are your thoughts on Dumb and Dumber personally? What are your thoughts on that movie?
You know, they're goofy films. They're not my
Yeah.
favorite. I sat through Dumb and Dumber 2 a few years ago, and I was like, what is this? That was one of the worst movies of that year.
Yeah.
I don't think I had it at number 1, but it was either 2 or 3 for the worst movies of that year. It was just a painful, silly experience. So I am impressed. I give him credit for going in a new direction, sticking with Studio Universal, but going in a new direction with this kind of movie. He needed a career shift. It was time, and this is that movie.
Yeah, I didn't even see Dumb and Dumber 2 because it just looks so dumb. Because I love
It
the
looks
first one.
dumb. There you go. Yeah.
I love the first one though because it actually has like some kind of clever humor to it. It's not
Right.
just silly, but
No, this was just slapped together for sure.
yeah, but Peter Farrelly, he made quite the switch here, and I'm impressed by it.
Mm.
And so, going back to the point of A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody, the Academy has really shown great recognition for a lot of musical films this year, a lot
Yes.
more than previous years. And Green Book is a little bit musical too. In fact, it's very musical. Would you call Green Book a music film? A lot of people consider it a drama, but would you call Green Book a music film?
I don't think I would as much because even though Don Shirley plays the piano, and you see Mahershala playing the piano through a lot of the movie, it's not the same kind of music in the sense of live songs like in A Star Is Born or the Queen music throughout Bohemian Rhapsody or the elaborate production numbers of Mary Poppins Returns. It's not that same kind of level.
Yeah.
It is a dramedy. That's the best way I would think of Green Book. It is a dramedy. There's a lot of humor, but there's a lot of dramatic elements to it as well. The music is a supporting feature. There's some old-fashioned music throughout that is very good, but it's not nearly as dominant as the other 3 films that I just mentioned when it comes to music movies this award season.
Yeah, that's very true. The music was a supporting feature of Green Book. Still great, very authentic for the authentic 1960s set pieces, but yeah, that's very true.
I love the car. Didn't you love the car?
Yeah, I drive that car. That is a beautiful car. It's like a bluish green, isn't it? In
Yeah.
a sense, I love that color. And,
Yeah.
And going back to the point of Mary Poppins Returns, which was a movie I absolutely loved. Why did Bette Midler sing the song at the Oscars?
Well, because Emily wasn't nominated. And Emily should have been. First of all, Mary Poppins was my number 1 movie of the year. Emily Blunt was amazing. She should have been nominated. She should have won. Yes. In this Academy Awards time, these last few years have been very political for the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Hollywood has gone in that direction as far as, and the diversity of what gets nominated, what doesn't. You look at movies like A Star Is Born, you look at movies like Mary Poppins Returns, and 10 years ago, they would have been slam dunk Best Picture contenders.
Yeah.
Slam dunk, hands down, but there's so many other outside factors that come into play now. Emily Blunt didn't get nominated because Yalitza Aparicio for Roma got that 5th slot. They went in the political direction. The movie didn't get up for Best Picture because a lot of people have problems with Rob Marshall. There's a whole bunch of factors, but because Emily wasn't in there, she wasn't going to basically get out of bed and say, yeah, I'll sing the song even though you really snubbed me. You snubbed my husband, John Krasinski, for A Quiet Place as well.
Yes.
So we're not going to show up. They didn't show up at all. So Bette Midler came in. I thought she was fine, but Emily Blunt was better when it came to singing that song in the movie, a powerhouse, emotional song.
Yeah, Bette Midler did an okay job, but Emily Blunt is just amazing.
It was fantastic. An emotional powerhouse of a movie, Mary Poppins Returns, like A Star Is Born, gives you that emotion throughout. I honestly think another reason Mary Poppins didn't get nominated for picture is that, to be quite frank, most of the people who would have loved, I shouldn't say most, a lot of the people who would have loved that movie are no longer with us.
Yeah.
My grandmother included. She would have loved Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah.
A lot of people who were adults in 1964 as opposed to kids in 1964 would have loved Mary Poppins Returns because it stays so true to the original. Award season's wacky. The Academy makes choices about who gets to sing songs, who gets to do what. So you thought she was just okay too, Bette Midler. It was all right. It wasn't shallow. That performance of Shallow.
That was the highlight of the night for me.
Highlight of
That
the
was
night
amazing.
and one of the musical highlights, I think, of the Oscars in the last 10 years or so, without question.
Yeah, definitely the best musical performance at the Oscars I've seen in a long time. It was
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And so getting back to the subject of Green Book, just for the sake of the interview, all great conversation, though.
Yeah.
Do you think the story of Green Book is well presented?
Yes and no. I understand there's some controversy surrounding the authenticity of this movie and the racial aspects of this movie. I feel like it is slightly a conventional film, and again, it appeals to the masses, and I think that's what they were going for. They want to get a little deep, but they didn't want to get extremely deep because they wanted a wide appeal without going down certain paths. So, for what it was trying to do, which I don't think was going as far as Black Klansman, Black Panther, Vice, other movies down certain paths, it's fine for what it is.
Yeah, that's very true. It is. It is. It's a decent story. It's inspiring, and I think it definitely is Best Picture material. So, yeah, very good points you made there. So, I know we've talked about this a little bit a few minutes ago. What do you think of Mahershala Ali's Oscar win? What are your exact opinions of that?
Great. I'm glad he won. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a Richard E. Grant upset only because I wanted to see some shakeups, and we eventually got one with Olivia Colman. But Richard E. Grant would have been cool because that's a great performance, and Mahershala won 2 years ago. But he deserves that Oscar for this performance. And he gave a great speech. I saw him at the Critics' Choice Awards when I was out there in California in January, go up on stage, do a quick little speech. Met him a few years earlier when he won for Moonlight. Great guy. Very glad that he won again. And I mean, 2 Oscars in 3 years in supporting actor is hard to do.
I think that's almost unheard of. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is pretty impressive, considering the first time he won, he was not a guarantee by any means. This second time, he was much more of a frontrunner, but still not a 100% guarantee.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to pull it off both times shows that people love this guy, love watching this guy, and will continue to wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think he has a very successful career coming, and he's very talented. Like I just said, I hope to see him in much more. And so, now here's the biggest question, since not everyone's really that happy about it.
All right, Alan, here we go.
What do you think of Green Book winning Best Picture?
It was my second choice. I thought Roma was going to win, but Green Book it makes you feel good. You look at all the other movies nominated for Best Picture, Star is Born, emotional ending. Black Klansman, political ending. Vice, political ending. What else was nominated?
The Favorite.
The Favorite. Oh, The Favorite's a wackadoo movie.
I'm sure it is.
The Favorite is such a wackadoo film. It leaves people with a bit of a bitter taste in their mouth.
Ew. Yeah, it does look like a wackadoo film.
Oh,
it
yeah,
really
yeah.
Does.
It's a weird ending and a bizarre movie. Olivia Colman's good, but out of all the nominees, Green Book's the one where you go, all right, I'm happy, I'm satisfied, nice story, and that's why it won. Because they didn't want to give it to a Netflix movie, they didn't want to give it to a plain old political movie, they didn't want to give it to a superhero movie quite yet. They go with Green Book. It's the safe choice. It's the fair, conventional choice. Not surprised. If it went to, Bohemian 2 was nominated. There was too much controversy surrounding Bohemian to probably give it Best Picture as well. But I'm not too surprised that it was Green Book. A lot of people, were you surprised? Were you surprised it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Green Book won? Did you get that feeling?
Yes, I was a little surprised because all the other nominees, if you think about it, Black Panther, Vice, and Roma, all these groundbreaking films, the scales of those films were a little more grand than Green Book, so I thought one of those movies would get the Oscar. But
that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, Green Book has really simplistic production value. So
simplistic is a good word also to describe this film. It is a simple story. That's why I predicted it to win original screenplay over The Favorite, because those were the two really in contention. Because I thought The Favorite goes in such oddball directions that most older Academy members would want to go with the simpler story. And that's why I chose Green Book to win original screenplay, and I got that one correct.
Good guess, but yeah, it's Green Book. I agree with you. Green Book probably was the safe choice, and it still is Best Picture material in the end.
Yeah, I think it deserved a nomination. Obviously, Mary Poppins would have been my choice for number one,
Well,
and
of
I
course.
would. And out of those 8, A Star Is Born was my favorite. But Green Book was my second favorite of the bunch, so I'm happy it won. I'm fine that it won. If Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Picture, Bohemian Rhapsody is an amazing Rami Malek and great costumes, and the rest of that movie I think is trash. So if that had won Best Picture, would I have been angry? I don't know. I would have just been, the Academy went off the wall this year so much, and Twitter would have exploded.
Yeah, I know, yeah. That would have been interesting if that movie would have won, because I have not heard good things about that movie. I heard it was like choppy and historically inaccurate.
Oh gosh, it's so choppy. It is just like, what happened? But you see all the behind the scenes stuff, and that's probably enough for another one of these episodes of this podcast, is to just go in the drama surrounding Bohemian Rhapsody. But so much behind the scenes stuff that went into all that choppy editing.
Yeah, well, in the end, it's a good thing it didn't win Best Picture. Rami Malek deserved that Oscar for Best Actor. But yeah, Green Book, in the end, really was a safe choice. So my last question for you is this. Would you say the messages in Green Book are effective?
Yes. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Green Book. It was the end of October. It feels like a long time ago. After you've seen all these different award season movies, and that comes fairly early, it's hard to remember exact details. But I remember walking out of Green Book and thinking, yeah, it does what it should do. It's satisfying enough. The performances are there. They're the strengths. If they weren't as good as they were, it would have just been another average buddy dramedy. But because of the two of them, that really helps. So the messages are out there. Some people agree with them. Some people don't, like Spike Lee. But did you see Spike Lee?
Yeah.
He basically said, he said to the BBC asked him right after he won his Oscar for Black Klansman, right after at the after parties, he said, they asked him, does Green Book offend you? What is it really about Green Book? And he said, are you British? And the guy said, yeah. He said to the second guy, are you British? And the guy said, yeah. He said, let me give you a British answer. It wasn't my cup of tea. And then he just ran around and jumped. Ah! The video's great. It's on and then they cut back to the news anchor, female news anchor, and she's just shaking her head laughing. Yeah, Spike ain't happy because his movie explores racial themes and messages in a much more deeper deeper, dramatic, intense way than Green Book does, and he thought he got a lot more out of it than Green Book did. But I think for what it is, Green Book's a good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you check it out, not just because it won Best Picture, but because it's a good time. It's a feel-good. If you've got teenagers in the family, you gather the family around, it's a good holiday movie. It's got a lot of that going for it. Yeah, it'll be on TV in a couple years around the holidays and do very well on TV.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. In the end, Green Book is a nice feel-good movie, and it's hard for a drama to be a feel-good movie, but in the end, I'm satisfied with its structure. Probably could have used a little improvement, but this should be a sign to filmmakers in the future to definitely make sure your films have a little extra improvement, because, no film is perfect, no filmmakers are perfect, but in the end, Green Book is a nice example of feel-good cinematic themes, and in the end, I'm glad I saw it and that I talked about it in this podcast, and I really like it, and I'll probably see it again in the future and for years to come, just to feel good.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what Peter Farrelly hoped everybody would get out of it, so there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Jackson, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule
Alan.
to do this.
I enjoyed talking the Oscars with you and Green Book with you. Everybody check out Green Book. It's on DVD and digital. Yeah, everybody check it out. It's a good movie. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackson. I enjoyed this too.
All right.
Once again, I'm Alan Hills, and this has been Cutting to the Chase. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week.